Janet, and the beginning video for my tag this week did not record, so I am going to take you through the process again on another piece of paper and then carry on with the rest of the tutorial. So what I have in front of me here are watercolor pencils, and these are from King Art. They came out of this package, and you could do this in any color with any kind of watercolor pencil. I have a piece of cardstock, nothing special, just cardstock, and a squirt bottle of water, and I'm going to use a nail file. However, you could use sandpaper as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil and I am just going to run it along my nail file and let that drop onto my glass mat. And I don't know if you can see it, but I can see that I'm starting to gather some dust. All right, and if I tap my nail file, I am going to get more of that dust. And so I'm just working with 3 different colors of green. You could do it in one color, you could do different colors, but for the tag background that I worked on, it was all in green. So now this is watercolor. So you can go in and pick it up with your paper. You can also squirt it and pick it up. Now, once you've done this, and you could shave directly onto your paper if you want to control where it goes. All right, which I think is what I did for the original tutorial. And then this is just, watercolor pencil, so it works just like a pencil. You can draw with it. So if you move it around, you're going to smear it into the background. However, watercolor really activates the color and makes it brighter when you get it wet. So I sprayed it. You can see the difference here. Once you spray it with water, you're going to get a very different look. And so you can continue to move it around if you want. You can continue to add to it. You can even go back in and draw into it to get shape or texture. Now I have a bunch here on my glass mat, and I can go in and pick it up as well. So a couple of different techniques here on how you can work with watercolor pencil, but I really like the idea of sanding it onto your paper. You can move it around, control it where you want it, and then get it wet. So if you had, let's say you had a stamped image and you just wanted to go around the background, you could sand your pencil into that area. You could gently move it around, and if you spray it with water, then you're going to get the color to activate even a little bit more. All right, so to show you what I'm going to stamp here is I grabbed a leaf stamp from Stampendous. This is, I don't know that it has a name to it. It says coordinates with cutting dies. I'm sorry, okay, Cling Fuchsia Trio. So I have that. I have my tag in my stamp platform, and now this has I've put a sticky pad in here, but the tag is not sticking so well, so I'm using my magnet. And then I'm going to ink this up with Lisa Horton's Anthracite, and the reason I'm on the stamping platform is in case it doesn't get dark enough in one go. I want to have a really good ink coverage because I want to emboss that. And so I'm just going to push that down really well. And let's see. Yeah, okay. We've got a nice dark image. So I'm going to lift that up, move this out of the way real quick. And let's bring in our iridescent shimmer and a coffee filter. I am going to use this from Emerald Creek. And let's hope I'm fast enough to get this on here. All right. I think we're good. I got some on the background too. It's all good. I could have pounced it to get it off the background. So I've sealed up, and let's bring in our heat tool and just emboss. Okay, so our embossing added a little bit of sparkle to it, but now I'm going to take my watercolor pencils and go in and color on top of and enhance these leaves. And so I just want to darken in the centers, and I'll work out from the center. Now sometimes these leaves have kind of another burgundy color to them, so I may add a little something else here as well. And we know that the color is going to intensify as we add water to it. So I'm going to do the burgundy and the white. And a little bit more of this green here. All right, let's see. I want to add some burgundy. Now, green and red together is going to make brown. So we have to be careful about how we go about that. And then I want to add in some white, but I think what I'm going to do is probably, let's get these wet first with our brush and see how they go. And then we'll come back in with water on top, or excuse me, with white on top. All right, so I'm going to take a rather small bottle, or small brush, and just dip into my water bottle. All right, and then we'll go in and activate these colors and kind of blend them out into the leaf. And it's going to do that kind of brown mixing that I talked about. But I can always go in and add more color as needed. The other thing the water does is that it softens the pencil marks, and so I'm not really seeing my strokes here anymore, which is rather nice. And I'm working on cardstock, and so, you know, it's not a wet medium. Just looking at my greens to see if what is the darkest green I have here. They're all pretty light. I work back on top of the wetness with the green again. And let's get in there and get that really dark. Hopefully get a little shading going on in there. I may have to even do a little black or gray, even purple. Let's see. I think this is black. Can we just go over this lightly to darken that center area? So what I'm doing is building color with the pencil and with the water. So I did a light stroke. Probably can't even tell it's there. But as I activate it with water, the dark becomes more intense. And I'm blending it into the other colors that are there. All All right. And then these leaves have a little white area around them. And let's see if we can get that white to show up on here. We may have to change out to a different brand of pencil to really add it in. I'd like to be able to stay with the watercolor. And I think if I dried this and then drew back on top of it, it might add a brighter white. But I am getting some white here. Probably not as bright as I would hope. But that is pretty damp. All right, I'm grabbing an ink tense to just get in here with the white, which different brand, kind of more artist grade than student grade. It doesn't even look like I put water on that one. So I may have to go back in there. I mean, the idea of adding white pencil, especially with watercolor, you basically want the white of the paper instead of the white of the pencil, but I didn't really have that option here because I colored the background, right? So, yeah, I'm getting the look of the white here if I push really hard. I am getting the white around the edge. And I don't remember what these leaves are called, but I know that they have this kind of color accent to them. Probably have to look them up to see what they are. But there's that. And then, do we want to add in a sentiment? This is sweet. It actually fits right across the whole tag. It's not exactly the right color green, so we could go in and kind of work around the edges here to bring the color together. But I do like that as a band across there. Let's go ahead and do that. I'm just going to use my tape runner as I reach over and grab it. Just line it up edge to edge. And I don't think we're even hanging over the edge. Okay. I like that. Now, do I want to go in and darken up around the edge? I don't want black. I know that. I might do a green. Let's see what green I have here with Lisa Horton's Cobblestone is kind of a gray. It's not bad. And we know that Tranquil Waters is kind of a blue-green. I'm going to do with Cobblestone. It's a little bit of a grayer. And I'm just going to ink up the edges real lightly. It's going to give it a very thin edge. And I can even do a little bit more on the leaf side. I'm even going on the band, getting it on the band. All right. So there's our Thinking of You tag with the watercolor pencil technique, sanding it and blending it into the background. So hope you liked the tutorial for this, and I hope you give the technique a try.